So what else can we do? We talked about dropped. VI is 0. We said that if something is in the air by itself, if it's in free fall, the acceleration is negative 9.8. Example 3, I like example 3, I like example 3. Example 3 is a nice question. Ball is thrown straight up with a velocity of 29 meters per second. What is A wanting me to find, Kenley? Okay, let's use our method, right, Logan? T equals question mark. I've written something down, I feel better. Now, Kenley, let's carefully read through the question looking for physics words and other things. What's that 29? What are the units next to that 29? So what is that 29? Which velocity? That's the question. Initial or final? That's the key. Okay, so you ready? I'm going to just mime throwing the ball. How fast is it leaving right at the beginning when it travels how fast is it traveling when it leaves my hand? I think VI is 29. So this is not the same as dropped. Okay? Once it leaves my hand, is it in the air? Is it in free fall? Say yes. So even though it's moving up, it's still in free fall. It's slowing down. What's the acceleration? You know this. Negative 9.8. So far, so good. Ooh, how many things have I written down? How many do I need? There must be something else that I know. Watch very closely, please. I'm going to throw a ball straight up. Not at 29 meters per second, but it will be the same physics. Watch, 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 watch. At the top. What can you tell me? Stop. What would stopped mean, please, in physics language? VF is what? I'm not going to tell you that, Ben. I'm going to expect you to reason your way to that. And I know because it does say how high we are at the top. Okay? Kenley, I'm looking for an equation that has a T, a VI, an A, and a VF in it. There is one and only one. Kenley said VF equals VI plus AT, and if you want to write that down, you can. But I'm going to challenge Kenley. Can you look at that equation on your green sheet, and can you go T equals and rearrange it in your head?
T equals VF minus VI.
Oh, milk and honey, bread and butter. I love it. Isn't that a much nicer way to do this? I think. What's VF? Because now we're into the plug and chug stage. What was VI? 29 meters per second, that's a pretty hard throw. It's about 50 miles an hour. Most of you could throw that hard, but not all of you. Major league pitchers throw it like 100 miles an hour, so it's about half the speed of a major league pitcher. All over negative 9.8. By the way, just so that you can look for calculator errors, what nice round number is negative 9.8 really close to? This is roughly 30 divided by 10. The answer has got to be really close to 3. If it's not, I've typed something really wonky. The top is negative. The bottom is negative. What's a negative divided by a negative? Are you positive? And time is a scalar. Time is always positive. So I'm trying to also give you, Ben, some built-in error checks so that you can catch when you've typed stuff wrong into your calculator. So you all got your calculator out. Is this a fraction? More than one thing on the top, brackets around the top. More than one thing on the bottom, I don't need brackets around the bottom. So it's going to be 0 minus 29, close bracket, divided by negative 9.8. Did you get I'll go 2.96. I'll go to 3 sig figs. Is that right?
Could you put it as 3?
Sorry, what was that?
Could you put it as just 3 seconds?
How many sig figs is the 29? So I would live with 3.0. I'll go 2.96. But yeah, I would give you full marks as long as you showed work and I could see where it came from. That's how long it takes to get to the top. You know what else I'd kind of like to know? How high does it get? Is that turning the page for you folks? Okay, since we're turning the page, we'll do a complete read defix so we don't have to remember things. So, first of all, what does this want me to find? I know it says height, but what variables? So D equals question mark. By the way, when we dropped an object, D was negative because we ended up below from where we started. I think this time, though, we're expecting a positive answer because we are above from where we started. Yes. Was VI 29? A was negative 9.8. Oh, what else did I know? VF was? I can use T if I have to. However, I might stay away from using the time of 2.956 because first of all, I'd be rounding off. But secondly, if I got that wrong, I'm getting this wrong. So as a good test writer, not as a good physics person, as a good test writer, I think I can find D from this. Which equation? Jackson, my friend. Which is the original equation we're going to start out with?
T equals open bracket VI plus VF close bracket T.
Did you say T? I don't know T. I got it earlier, but I want to avoid using it. Okay.
VF squared
Yeah.
equal to...
We're going to use VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AD. You ready for the challenge, Jackson? Can you read it to me as D equals and get the D by itself?
T equals VF squared
Yep.
minus VI.
VI what? VI what? VI what? Don't forget that, because if you forget to read it, you'll forget to write it, or you'll forget to type it. Keep going.
Minus or divided by...
Why divided by?
Because
What's the 2 and the A doing to the D?
they're multiplying.
So what's the opposite of multiplying?
By
Okay, so the breadcrumbs for how to rewrite this are hidden in the original equation as well. I'm expecting a positive answer because we are above. 0 squared minus 29 squared. I started to get a bit nervous because I said, oh, the top is negative. But then I went, 2 times negative 9.8. I smiled at him and I said, the bottom is negative. What's a negative divided by a negative? I am going to get a positive answer because we are above. Is this a fraction? Is there more than one thing on the top? So Adam, you want to get out your calculator. You want to go open bracket. 0, find where your x squared button is. Although, what's 0 squared? I could probably be really lazy and not bother squaring the 0. I'll still get the right answer. But if you want it just to look like your actual formula, you can. Minus 29 squared divided by, is there more than, close bracket, divided by, is there more than one thing on the bottom? Brackets are on the bottom. 2 times negative 9.8, close bracket. You'll get 42.9? I'd take 43. 42.9 meters, which is pretty high. Most of you would have trouble throwing it that high. And units, meters. Also because, Evan, throwing something exactly straight up is just physically awkward. We're much better at throwing something at about a 45-degree angle. Our arms seem to be built to do that. But to try and throw something straight up, you throw it overhand or underhand, it's just kind of awkward, right? What else can I figure out? C. What's the impact velocity just before it hits the ground? Not 0. After it hits the ground. But V final isn't 0. And I think that's what this question is asking me to find. So, VF equals question mark. There's an... Oh. Put your pencils down. Look up. Suppose this was a test question, which it might be, and you finished the test early. What did we find, Jackson, in part A?
T.
I could use this. I chose not to because I said I'm going to try and avoid using T if I can't, but I could. What I would do, if I finished this test early before handing it in, I would write this off on a scrap piece of paper or in the margin somewhere, and I would go, okay, 29 times 2.96, that's what T was, plus 0.5 times negative 9.8 times 2.96 squared. And if I'm lucky, I'll get really, really close to 42.9. This is a way I can check my answers. The fact that I got the same answer without using time as with using time, this must be right. And this has got to be right because there's no way I could have fluked and gotten the same answer 2 different ways. So there are some ways if you want to check your answers. You've already now have enough physics in your blood, Logan, that you can often use 2 or... By the way, I also could have used, in this case, a third way, D equals bracket VI plus VF close bracket times T over 2. That would also work. I now have several different methods I can use. Usually I'll try and use the one that uses the data that they gave me. I guess. Well, what else do I know? Oh, first of all, how many things have I written down? I need 3. Find the 4th. So let's use our physics intuition. What else do I know? Jackson drops his calculator in despair. No, we don't need to despair. We can pull this off. What else do I know? What was that? What's the distance? Now, I have to be careful. First of all, we've been sloppy, Antonio. We've been saying distance. We really mean displacement. So, you ready? Here's how I should answer this. How high are we at the very beginning of this question? 0. How high are we when we hit the ground? What's our change in position then? So I could use okay. Is there an equation that works for that? Which one? Which equation, Antonio, has a VF and A? Okay. VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AD. Except this doesn't get the VF by itself. How to get rid of a squared? Little Zorro thing you're doing there? What? What's D equal to? So what's 2 times A times 0? The square? No. Sorry, hang on. Yes and no. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second, okay? In this case, because D is 0, because D is a displacement, a change in position. How high were you when you started? 0. How high were you when you ended? 0. What's your change in position? Then it's 2 times A times 0. We get this. Now, Antonio, I can cancel out the squared. I can't when there's still a plus 2AD because when you're adding stuff, the square roots don't cancel. Okay? So what do I get? Stop. Look up. What do I get? You don't need a calculator for this. You shouldn't need a calculator for this. What's VI? What's VI? 29. Okay. So based on your little chain of reasoning here, Antonio, you're telling me that... Is that what you're saying? Why must that be wrong? Because it is wrong. No. It was the square root of 29 squared. So if you go on your calculator, 29 squared, and then you go square root answer button, you do get a 29 back. What? This is that problem that we run into because of your calculators. Whenever you square root, your calculators assume you want the positive answer. What's the square root of 9? 3 or negative 3. But your calculator will never give you the negative 3. The software assumes you want the positive answer. There's a shortcut. You ready for the shortcut? Did we start on the ground? Say yes. Did we end on the ground? Then there's a saying. The saying goes, what goes up must come. you're going to hit the ground at exactly the same speed as you left the ground, but negative. What we've just done, Antonio, you've given us a lovely proof of that. You said, Mr. Dueck, doesn't the 2AD cancel? And then you said, wouldn't the squared just cancel? Don't you just get the final speed is equal to the initial speed? Yeah, the final velocity is the opposite. So, if you want to, you can write here what goes up. That little, so you could have just told me negative 29. In fact, a lot of you will remember this little thing. That only works, Savannah, if you start on the ground and end on the ground. This doesn't work from cliffs. Oh yeah, because if you're on a cliff, it's going to fall for longer and it's going to hit the ground harder. So that trick won't work. But if you're looking for a handy back pocket trick, by the way, the other thing you could have done, what did we find here? Time to the what? Top. What do you think the time to the bottom is? So what's the total time there and up? If you took this time and times it by 2, you could have used, well, first of all, what's D asking me to find, Courtney? Courtney? What's D asking me to find? Read it to me, please, out loud. No, D. This next part here. What's it asking me to find? What is how long? Time. Okay, you were away, sorry. So let's all write down T equals question mark. And we could calculate this. We can calculate this in one of 2 ways. Method number 1 is I'm going to say something out loud, and then we're going to abbreviate. So just listen. You can take the time to get to the top and double it. This is what we're going to write. Is T with a little top subscripted? Is that okay for time to the top? So it's going to be 2.96 times 2. And this is why, Jackson, I would have avoided rounding off, because almost always you're going to use time to find other stuff. If I really wanted to. Come on. I could even bring that calculation back. Where was it, Mr. Dueck? There. Oh, no, that's not it. Got to go back a little further. Arg. Good yawn? There. I could actually bring that answer back and go times 2. Or if I go 2.96 times 2, I get almost the same thing. I'm off by a tiny bit, but that's a little bit of error that will trickle through the rest of my questions. So I'll write 5.92. I would do that if I had done part A already. What if I hadn't done part A already? What if they just asked me to find how long the ball is in the air for? Fancy phrase for that is time of flight. What if they just asked me to find that? Well, what was VI? What was VF? Negative 29. What was A? Adam, is there an equation that has a T, a VI, a VF, and an A in it on your green sheet? Yeah? Could you read me the equation? Get the T by itself, please. Get the T by itself, please. Yep. Yep. Nice. And I'll get negative 29 minus 29 all over negative 9.8. Get your calculators out and type that in. And if we're lucky, we'll get 5.918367347. Do we get exactly the same value as when we used? Did I say a few minutes ago we're at a stage now where you have 2 or 3 different approaches that you can use? You are at a stage now, Kenley, where you have 2 or 3 different approaches that you can use. Which one's correct? Yes, they all are. I don't care. I usually use whichever one is laziest. Just be very cautious, Sam. Don't make a false assumption. So what are some common mistakes? V final is 0 when you hit the ground. No, V final is 0 at the top. At the top, which is not going to be total time of flight. Second most common mistake, kids let the final velocity be positive. Oh, V initial is 29, V final is 29. Can't be. It's moving down. I already answered part E. What's the displacement of the ball once it hits the ground? How high was it when it started? How high was the ball when it's not? How fast? How high was the ball when it started? 0. How high was the ball when it ended? Because it started on the ground and ended on the ground. What's its displacement? Which is a little tricky, but that's what displacement means. We're dealing with vectors here. So in example 3, Evan, we were standing on the ground. Let's go stand on a cliff. A ball is thrown straight up from a cliff at 12.5 meters per second. So imagine you're standing with your toes in midair, leaning out over the cliff, and you're throwing it straight up, and it's going to come straight down and fall past you and hit the ground down below. Okay, can you imagine that? It hits the ground after 8.85 seconds. Logan, what does A want me to find? What does part A want me to find? Which variable is how high? Distance, yeah. So let's write down D equals question mark. Right? What's that 12? I mean, again, same dance as before. I'm reading the question looking for numbers and physics words. I see a 12.5. What are the units next to that 12.5? Velocity, is it V initial or V final? I think it's VI. Oh, I like example 4, I like example 4, I like example 4. Example 4 is the next question. Roman, why did I say that? Did you hear me say it's going to be on the test? Or you're the kind of student that notices when your physics teacher emphasizes certain things? Good. Sorry, caught you mid-yawn, so that's why I hit you up there. What's that 8.85? Seconds? Got to be time. I've only written 2 things down. I need 3 things. What else? Oh, I know A is. Now, someone said 0. What were you going to say is 0? And this is a good teaching moment. Tony, what were you going to say was 0? No, that's after you hit the ground, not when you hit the ground. Do a belly flop onto the cement. I assure you, it's going to hurt. If V final was 0, it wouldn't hurt. And you can see that's a common error to fall into. You're not alone in that. Which equation? Logan, I'll come back to you. Which equation? I got a D, a VI, a T, and an A in it. Oh, he's getting his green sheet out. Yes! So fourth line down, or third line down, whatever line. Is it third line down or fourth line down? Those 4 equations in a row there, those ones, right, kiddo? By the way, while you're looking, how many of you are finding you've memorized half of these equations without trying to? And again, nothing wrong with doing that, but you don't have to. But I always know that VF equals VI plus AT. That one almost has a rhythm to it. I always have trouble with the one in brackets. I know the VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AD, because that one kind of has a rhythm to it. Find it, Logan? I don't know. You have to read it to me. Did you say VF? Stop. Do I have a VF written here? Nope. Try again. And this is how we do it. It's the process of elimination. Good. Yeah. 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 Normally, I would now say to Logan, okay, get the D by itself. Oh, but the D is already by itself. But normally, I would challenge you to try and rewrite it. But we don't need to in this case. D equals VIT plus a half AT squared. Let's plug in the numbers. Logan, what's VI? Yep. What's T? Yep. And then there's a plus. How do I type a 1/2 into my calculator? What do I write instead? 1.5? Just 0.5. Just 0.5. And then A, negative 9.8. And you said time was 8.85. And Logan, don't forget the what? Yes. By the way, you can see why kids forget, because they're so proud. They've found the correct equation, Sam. They've written everything out, and they're carefully typing it into their calculator, and they relax at that last second and forget to do the squared. There's one, if you take Physics 12 next year, there's this massive line equation when we're doing rocket orbits, and it's huge. And the very last thing is a squared, and it's amazing how often, because the kids have just typed like a 30-character equation, a massive equation into their calculator, and they're so proud. And they forget the squared. It drives me crazy. So I'm trying to beat that into you this year. What'd you get? Really? I had to remind. Come on! We got to go. Here we go. I think you can type this in one fell swoop. 12.5 times 8.85. Take away 0.5 times negative 9.8 times 8.85 squared. And again, did I use brackets to show multiplication? No, I think that's way easier to read.
Why are you taking it wrong?
I don't know, because I'm stupid. Oh. Plus. That was a mistake. Who caught that? Candy for you. Do you all get negative 273.15? That there? Why negative? It's ending up below. This D that we're always finding is a displacement, a change in position, and it's ending up below from where I started. This is why in the first lesson I did do some vectors with you, and then I haven't really talked about vectors all that much. Now you're starting to see that the direction does make a difference, okay? It's a pretty high cliff. I'll go to 3 sig figs, negative 273. Now, if you just stopped there, I'll give you full marks. But Logan, what did this question want me to find? What? Technically, height is a scalar, and so if you're looking at my answer key for this question, I probably reported it back as a positive number. But if you left it as a negative, I'm not going to freak out, Savannah, because I'd rather have you do the physics.
What is that? H equals?
Pardon me?
Does it H equals?
Yeah, height.
Is that what we're learning as our answer?
You'll learn later on this year that H is a variable for height.
If we were to write like D equals,
I'd give you full marks. B. What's B asking me to find? Didn't we just find height? We found the height of the cliff. What's this asking me to find?
Yeah.
That height up there. At the top. At the top. At the top. Okay? What variable am I going to use for height? What variable did we use for height last time? So this is going to be different listing though. So D equals. I can still use the same VI. What was VI? A is negative 9.8. I can't use T. That time is all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. I want the time to the top. Then Jackson said, can I use half of it? Only if we start on the ground and end on the ground. Jackson, look up. I think, don't write this down. This looks like this. Is it on the way up for the same amount of time as it's on the way down? So can I use half of it? Yeah. We're at the top, yes? Watch. Ooh, what can you tell me about the top for a split second? I can use VF as 0 at the top. That's when VF is 0, not at the bottom, at the top. So I can use that one. Cool. Which equation?
Yeah, squared equals.
Get the D by itself, please.
D is equal to VI minus VF divided by 2A.
No. First of all, it's VI. It'd be squareds.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to drop down like a domino? The VF squared drops down first. Yes?
Yeah.
And then minus VI squared. Were you going from memory? I'm almost impressed.
Yeah.
But use the green sheet until you get better, divided by 2. I think it's that one.
Yeah.
Double check me, folks, but does that look correct from our green sheet? Yeah? Okay. So it's going to be 0 squared minus 12.5 squared all over 2 times negative 9.8. And I'd like every one of you to try typing this in. Adam, I'm going to pick on you a little bit just to walk you through your calculator. Head up, get your calculator out. Clear, 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 clear. Adam, is this a fraction? Say yes. This is some of the stuff you've missed, so I'll walk through it with you right now. Is this a fraction? Say yes. Is there more than one thing on the top? We're going to have to put brackets around the top. Is there more than one thing on the bottom? We have to put brackets around the bottom. So type with me. You're going to go open bracket. There's one somewhere on that calculator, yes? 0. Have you found your x squared button yet? Good. Squared. And then minus 12.5 x squared. Close off the bracket. Divided by. Open a bracket. 2 times negative 9.8. Close off the bottom. And if we're lucky, you and I got the same thing. Did you also get 0.7971? That there? I've typed mine in wrong. Oh, you know why? I missed the point. I got negative 98. That seemed way too small to me. That was creeping me out. Larger type, Mr. Dueck. Did you actually get 7.97? That there? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to write 7.97. 7.99, Mr. Dueck? 7.97 meters. And that's wrong. For a candy, why must that be wrong? Who can tell me? I think someone may have murmured something that sounded to me like, what? What? Oh, round up? No, sorry. Yeah, Ben. So, oh, Ben, candy for you. So you're telling me, let me do my hideous picture again. What we've just found is that. But when we're talking about the height of the ball, wouldn't it be that? How can I figure that out? Adding. Ah. Okay. We're doing some deep thinking now. Now we're not just plugging and chugging. We're visualizing what's going on. Nice, my friend. So you're telling me height is going to be 7.97 plus 200 and now I'll use the positive value, 273. If you want to, in your notes, you can write toss plus cliff, because that's really what we've done. How high you went just because of the toss, but you were on a cliff to begin with. Ben, when you type that into your calculator, what do you get? I'm getting, I think if I go to 3 sig figs, you get 281, Ben, I think, yeah? And by the way, if we went like to that 7 there, that's accurate to like 3 centimeters, which is crazy accurate. So we'll go to 3 sig figs. 281 meters. I like B, I like B, I like B. B is a nice question. Dr. Dueck is causing diabetes, is what Adam said. Yes? He's chewing right now. Now I want to ask him a question. By the way, if you ever, this is mean, but if you ever go out for dinner with a friend and you want to have a little fun and they're a good friend, every time they take a bite, ask them a question. And if you do that for the entire meal, because as soon as they take a bite, you ask them a question, they'll be, let them swallow, answer the question, and then ask them another question as soon as they take a bite. If you do that for a half hour straight, I gotta be honest, it's kind of funny. Okay. Evan, what does C want me to find? Now, wants me to find VF at the bottom. What isn't the answer? What isn't VF at the bottom? Not 0. Okay. Otherwise, that would be a very different set of physics. By the way, if it was 0, that would mean you could fall off a cliff and be fine. You would somehow be slowing down and gently drift to the bottom. That would be like a reverse gravity. After you hit, sure, eventually you will come to a stop. That's not what we're talking about. So I love the fact Evan said VF. Good. What else do I know? Well, they gave me VI was 12.5. They gave me, we're in free fall, A is negative 9.8. And Adam, I think they gave me time. I've scrolled down. What was the time value at the very way up there, Adam? Other Adam, sorry. 8 point something, wasn't it? Seconds, and that's how we know. Good. All right, folks. Which equation? By the way, there's at least two other ways that you could also find V final, but this is the easiest, and this is what I would go with. And this also uses data that they gave me. Which equation? Yeah, you. And why would I use that one? Because the VF is already by itself. Yay. And I'm using stuff they gave me. I could also use VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AD. And the D that I would use would be the negative 273. I could also use D equals bracket VI plus VF times T over 2 and get the VF by itself. And that would give me the correct. But why? I could, though. This might be if I wanted to check my answers, if I finish the test early and I want to try and find something in a different method, and if I get the same answer, yay! 12.5 plus negative 9.8 times 8.85. By the way, let's make a prediction before I type anything in. What direction are we going when we hit the ground? Am I expecting a positive or a negative answer? I'll get creeped out. If I get a positive answer, I've made a typo. And I get, do you get negative 74.2, negative 74.2? Let's go to 3 sig figs, 2 sig figs, which is pretty fast. Units. Meters per second. And Jackson here, VF doesn't equal VI because you fell for longer. I can't use that trick. I can only use the what goes up must come down trick if I start on the ground and end on the ground. There's a lot of shortcuts there because it's very symmetrical. Can't do that off a cliff. I don't like number 5. I don't like example 5. I don't like example 5. Let's go to example 6. By the way, example 5, what it's actually doing is, usually someone points out to me, Mr. Dueck, if we're standing on the ground and throwing something, the ball isn't technically starting on the ground. It's starting from your hand height. So what I'm going to say is this. Let's imagine, this is stupid, but let's imagine you're all just laying on the ground and throwing it right from the ground to keep the math simple. Otherwise, I could tell you the hand height, and we could add the hand height to all of our answers and build it in Courtney, but it's a pain. So I did one like that in example 5, and then I've just decided, forget it. Savannah, what are the first, what does it say right at the beginning of example 6? No, right at the beginning. And usually what I'm saying is, this is probably, if I say this is tough, it's probably a multi-step question. Usually that means you're going to have to find something in order to find something. Okay? A ball is launched straight up from the edge of an 82-meter high cliff with an initial velocity of 18 meters per second. How long until it hits the ground at the base of the cliff? What does this question ask me to find? What's that 82? This is wrong. Why must that be wrong? It's not a distance, it's a displacement. Did we end up above or below from where we started? So the first way this is tough is people miss that. And unfortunately, this time your calculator won't give you something weird necessarily. Sometimes it will, but often it won't. So there's no way I can say to you, oh, watch out for this, and then you'll know that you've made this mistake. All I can say is, Pay attention. Oh, I like this question. I like this question. I like this question. What's that 18? Pretty obvious. Initial velocity. I even told you. Are we on? Oh. What, Antonio? Acceleration is what? Okay. And I can't say VF is 18 because we're starting from a cliff. You're about to see why an entirely new branch of mathematics was invented. Are you ready? Here it comes. What equation? Third one, d equals VIT plus a half AT squared. And here's the problem. None of these are 0. This time you're going to end up with 2 t's. All we can do right now is plug in the numbers. We can't get the t by itself because there's 2 of them. So on the next line, we're all going to write negative 82 equals 18t minus 4.9 t squared. Times negative 9.8. You know what a half of negative 9.8 is? Okay, I waiting for some. You could see I was ready. So Evan asked the obvious question, Mr. Dueck, where did that negative 4.9 come from? It's half of negative 9.8, and I did that in my head. Sorry, but I did. Franz, what kind of an equation is this? How do you know it's a quadratic? Because it's got a squared. And I think you folks have told me you're just starting to dive into that right now. Okay? Right now, I can't teach you how to solve that. Make sure you put a y in front. Jackson he'll figure out the bad joke eventually. Make sure you write yuck. Make sure you put a y in the front. Okay. Savannah, what did I ask you to read at the beginning? What did I put there in that little asterisks? And I told you that means it's probably a 2-step. You're going to need to find something in order to find something. So here's my question. Boys and girls, what else can we find from that? What's the only other thing? Draw a little line like this because we're going to split it in 2. And let's go VF equals. Now, because this isn't the actual thing I'm trying to find, I put a question mark next to what I'm trying to find. This is my own stupid system. I put a blank line next to, I'm going to have to find this in order to find that just so I can distinguish the 2. Whatever you come up with is your own system. I'm fine with that, Jagger, but this is me, minimal amount of writing, maximum organization. Jagger, my friend, which equation? Yep. Did it. And then I would say to you, we need to get the VF by itself. It's almost by itself. Cross out the squared. Put a great big square root like that, Courtney. You're zoning out. You back with me? We're nearly there. So we're going to get this. VF equals big square root 18 squared plus 2 negative 9.8 negative 82. How do we type that into our calculator? In this case, Antonio, by the way, are we also adding something inside the square root? Say yes. Yeah. I can't just cancel out the square. I have to type what's inside the square root first. So I would recommend, Adam, you go like this. We're going to type 18 squared plus 2 times negative 9.8 times negative 82. Hit equals, and then go square root, answer button. You see why this is a tricky question? It gets worse. Because that's wrong. Why must 43.94542, why must that be wrong? I have to now, again, realize my calculator's lying to me. I want the negative answer. Holy smoke. So we had to get the negative displacement on our own. We have to make this answer negative. So VF is, and I'm going to, Jackson, not round off. I'm going to carry a bunch of extra sig figs. I'm going to go negative 43.94542. Okay. I'm going to circle some stuff. Don't you bother. But just to help this stand out, I know A, I know VI, I know VF. From that, I can find T. Which equation? VF equals VI plus AT. A nicer equation than the quadratic. Get the T by itself. How do I get the T by itself in that equation? Is it VF minus VI over A? So it's going to be negative 43.94542 minus, what was VI? 18? Was VI 18? I've scrolled down, sorry. Divided by negative 9.8. Franz, did you solve this one using the quadratic formula? Show me your calculator. Oh, after all my type this in. Oh boy. Oh, it's on. What do you get? You will get a positive answer because it's time. That seems high. Did you say 42? No, that seems high. I think it's going to be. That sounds a little better to me. Put the top in brackets. Check your signs. By the way, instead of typing 43.9454, I'm going to type a negative and then hit my answer button. Starting to see why I like that answer button? Less typing, more accurate, less error, triple win. 6.32 seconds. Yeah. Don't clear your calculator. Be right there. I'll come help you in a second. Questions you can try. I already said number 1 and number 2. 3 is good. 4 is good. 5 is good. 6 is good. Skip 7. 8 is good. 8 is tricky, but 8 is good. Geez, you can tell I typed this up when Roberto Luongo still played for the Canucks. Looking at number 9. Nah. Nah. Vertically up, nah. 12 is good. By the way, if we're throwing it downwards, what's VI, not 48? I heard it there. I heard it there. Negative 48, okay? I will not try and trick you on a test. If I gave you this question on a test, I would say thrown downwards at negative 48. I'd stick the negative in for you, but in your homework to see if you're paying attention and make you think. Yes? So 12 is good. Skip 14. 15 is good. '18 and 17 are the same questions, so I'll do 18.